Hello guys, it's me, the one and only Skattosan. I can't even tell you when I actually stumbled upon a man who I don't even know, but who came into my life in a very unique way. His name is, I believe it's Paulo Coelho. The first book that I read of his was called The Warrior of the Light. Now, I stumbled upon that when a student of mine back from Sacramento, California, Ira, he found this samurai image and then a quote to the left of the image, and at the bottom it said Coelho's name. So I was like, that's a really good quote. So I looked up the quote. I found the book, went and bought the book, read the book within days. Like, I couldn't put it down. It was probably 2 days and I had it read. And I'm not really one to sit down and blow through philosophy or things that make you really think. But Paulo really has a knack for inflicting thirst, essentially, is kind of how I want to say it. Thirst comes to mind. Well, I recently picked up The Alchemist. It's one of his greatest works. Got it. I'm kind of set back because this book, The Alchemist, I was reading the foreword. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I was reading the inside cover. Okay, this paperback. It's reading the inside flap here. I'm sure there's a name for it. And it describes a man or a young boy by the name of Santiago, I'm quoting now, who travels from his homeland in Spain to the Egyptian desert in search of a treasure buried near the pyramids. Along the way, he meets a gypsy woman, a man who calls himself king, and an alchemist, all of whom point Santiago in the direction of his quest. Years ago, I sat down and I wrote a very descriptive short story, of a young man who woke up in the desert. His lips were dry, they were cracking. Every way he looked, there was just heat everywhere, searing ground, nothing in sight. And he ends up passing out again. Upon waking the second time, there was someone who was passing by him on either horseback or camelback. I forget what I wrote in there. But they stopped, looked back, and noticed that this person, whom I believe I was kind of writing from my own standpoint of being lost or taken to a place where you felt stuck. Well, the person stopped, got him, and then he passes out again and ends up waking up in a shaded hut, etc., etc. Finds out that it is a woman who saved him, a very beautiful woman who it matches up way too close to barely even opening this book. And that person who I was writing about, myself, strangely enough, mimics what's being written in here. Very kind of scary. So I'm really eager to see what's written in here because I wanted to finish my story called The Glade of the Desolate. Okay? It was an old email of mine, and Glade of the Desolate, a few years later, became a short story, which I ended up giving a copy to my old sensei, mentor, friend, and also boss, Sensei Cynthia McBurney, and she said, you got to continue. Like, you don't stop. So I ended up continuing on with the story. Probably wrote about as much as I wrote when I first gave it to her to read. And it's interesting to me because in the foreword, Paulo states that he was, I assume it was his very first book. I could very much be wrong in this fact. But he says that, I guess, what was it? Within the first week, there was only one person who purchased the book. So it kind of went unnoticed. Within the next 6 months, a second was sold. But it was to the same person who purchased the first. Let's see here. And he says, so who knows how long it took to sell the third. By the end of the year, it was clear to everyone that The Alchemist wasn't working. So he ends up getting released from his contract, and the publisher gave him back his book and said, toodaloo, good luck. But he didn't give up. He didn't give up. He kept going, and he wanted to share something. He wanted to share his story. This is his story, as he said it. And I mean, I haven't read it yet, but I assume he's very much talking about his life and the quest for purpose, really. On the second page of the foreword, so it starts off on the first page. He said that he was following a personal legend, okay? And he says, my treasure was my capacity to write. I feel like society's push keeps people from doing what they're supposed to do. For years, I wrote. I journaled. I wrote poetry. I did not necessarily follow the rules of poetry all the time. But that was because a lack of maturity, also wanting to be kind of rebellious and just freely express myself in as best a way as I could with the knowledge that I had already been given from having learned poetry and going through the projects that we did while in high school about poetry. And so I was just kind of coning myself through what it is that I had already experienced and just wrote freely as best I could. I had to stop reading this. I started to read this book while I was on the John. I had to stop. I had to stop reading because I needed to come to you guys. Everybody who is a follower of mine or who is even remotely interested in me or the things that I have had to say in the past and I'm saying now, because that man astounds me, because it's almost like I'm looking in the mirror, and that becomes kind of scary. Do you know what I'm saying? It almost is it? I don't know if it's nostalgic, euphoric, euphoria. I don't know. I gotta really brush up on my vocabulary. It was practically dizzyfying. I couldn't wrap my head around what I've lost, which was I don't want to say my capacity to write. I think that's probably gotten much greater. But the time that I've spent or allotted to myself to write, I I have journals right there. I can almost guarantee you, if you were to open up each one of those journals and did a percentage or a ratio, it would be probably 90% unfilled. Except for maybe those 5 on the left. But I'm going to be getting back into it. I've already kind of done it, just in a different way. I think I'm lying to myself, actually. What I was referring to was the Redwood Samurai. I have this big poster board of sketch paper, right? And any idea, boom, 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 start scribbling different colors if I needed to differentiate between friendship bracelet thread and whatever. Well, I noticed that, and I say I was lying because I noticed that wasn't necessarily journaling. I didn't have a single journal that I would flow through about everything. Very few times I have written in a journal and completed it without having opened up, purchased, or started a new one. Now, there's many different factors involved with that. One, lined paper for me is very restrictive. From this point forward, I am going to only purchase journals or make journals that have no lines, because I can still write as if there was lines, right? Or create lines. I have to get a ruler and draw lines. But you can't necessarily draw if you have lines. It kind of gets in the way of seeing what it is that you're trying to create. And I think that was one of my restrictions from jumping from journal to journal, was because I was buying up all these journals that had lines, and it was very restrictive to me. So I needed another journal that had no lines that I could just express whatever it was I needed to express, whether it be words, drawing, sketching, ideas, inventions, anything artistic. So something I wanted to create later on. Anyways, back to Paulo, Mr. Coelho. The Warrior of Light was an intense book because it teased out things very personal, almost as if he was having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea with me, and he knew me. I would dare say that because of his ability to write, just like mine, we have been so deeply involved with introspection, I think that's the word, being able to look within oneself and just understand what's happening through self-inquiry, through epiphanies. He understands people. Most likely only because he has taken the time to understand himself. And he wants to help people understand themselves. And he does it through storytelling. I picked up a book not that long ago. It was also one of his, and I was kind of astonished. He had written a book about adultery, and I was expecting some form of similarity between what was in that book versus, or I should say, what was written in that book and how it was written being very similar and not story-like, just like, well, I guess it was story-like in the beginning of The Warrior of Light. It was way more personal and an adult. I could be wrong. Maybe I've just been reading the forward the whole time. I don't know. But it seems that the book on adultery was primarily based off of a story, I assume. I haven't read it all, but it was very intense, just brash, full of honesty, from the wife's point of view, and it was just like a flood. And yet you were on a boat, just kind of like watching it happen. I don't know. It's just kind of intense. So getting back to it, I wouldn't be who I am today if I never journaled, if I never spent the time to have self-inquiry, to to be angry, upset, heartbroken, happy. I mean, I used to journal because I had time. I would go home. I would have no internet. I would have essentially nothing except for myself, my swords, my books, my journals. One of the greatest periods of my life, I left because I felt that I wasn't surviving well enough, that I wasn't making it in society. And so I left. And that was when I was working for Cynthia McBurney Sensei. And I went to Texas to live with my brother. I assume there's a lot that just kind of has to be unexplained, uncomprehensible. Just that there's no way to understand the path that life puts in front of you. So you kind of have to just kind of take it in stride, say, okay, that's how it happened, or this is how it's happening, and then you just kind of let go. You let go of wanting to control the momentum, and then just go. Go with it a little bit. You can still kind of steer the momentum, especially if it's forward momentum. If it's forward momentum, you can steer. The likelihood is you're always moving forward, even if you feel like you're going backwards. Like, I'll be honest. If you look around you, right here, right now, you see a bunch of stuff up here, okay? I have unpacked probably, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 small boxes, 2 big boxes. Okay, probably twice the size of the small boxes. Within the better part of an hour, just kind of getting everything out, putting it here, putting it where it goes. This is our new place. I was rolling with the punches of decision. I had to make a decision on whether or not I was going to go to Kendo today. I looked around me. Our new apartment is exactly how a new apartment probably needs to look like. No new apartment, unless you are on some sort of 5-hour energy or something, will look perfect. We've been here almost 20 days, 26 days. No, that can't be right. 16 days. little over 2 weeks. And we're doing pretty well with getting everything situated. And we still have stuff to get from one place over to here. So I was forced with some decisions, right? The son wasn't taking a nap. The missus was napping. And it was gradually becoming time for me to go to kendo. Took my stuff downstairs to the car. Our son was still in bed. He heard me open the door. He was crying. He just really wasn't ready for a nap. So instead, I unpacked. I decided I needed to stay here. Ashley needed to sleep before her shift. Okay, we're working on son number 2. She needs sleep. What I need to practice in kendo can be practiced while I'm at home. I am supposed to be watching videos and practicing kendo kata so that when I go back to the dojo, I know what it is that I'm doing. So when sensei says, do this, this, and this, and this, I do that, and then they correct the small things instead of me not knowing what the form is supposed to look like. Do you know what I'm saying? So I made an executive decision and felt that the home front needed more attention than my training. I urge you, even if you're single, focus on those kinds of things. The home front. Your home is your sanctuary. It's your safe place. You go home to relax. If you have a home situation that doesn't allow you to relax, you have to begin to incorporate things that will allow you to relax. If you have kids, obviously, you're not single, right? Now you've got kids, you've got, others that you're, in charge of. You have to find balance. You have to find balance from creating consistency in balance. Right now, I am enjoying the balance because as I took Ashley to work, Caden was getting tired because we were in a car ride. So on the way back, boom, he was asleep. He was saying, "Mama, Mama," as we drove away. Come home, boom, out. Took him upstairs, laid him down. What did I do? Started doing things that I needed to do. That's the balance. You have to use time that is there. There's time all around you, opportunities all around you. You have to know when to snatch it up. Sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, so guilty. Sometimes I snatch opportunity when I should be applying attention to my family, or more specifically, my significant other, my loved one, Ashley, okay, my fiance. I feel that she needs me more than I'm giving. I guess that's kind of the end of the statement. She needs more than I'm giving. Now, that doesn't mean that I have to just sit there and just pour, right? I don't have to just be the lifeline. But today I did something. I helped her get up. I got her a shower going. So I mean, like, because we're at that stage in the pregnancy, her energy level is so diminished and can, flip the coin at any point in time. So I have to help guide that energy level into a direction that she really wants to go, but needs help, right? So I noticed today that I was giving, hopefully, enough of myself and still getting stuff done. Okay? Sometimes I say things and it kind of comes out as if bad or negative, but it's very true and honest. For instance, today I said that I stayed home. She asked me, actually, when I had to take everything out of the front seat, put it in the back seat, all my kendo gear, my bogu. She says, did you not go to kendo today because of me? And I said, no, not just because of you. You were a factor in the decision of not going, but your factor allowed me to see the other factors. Okay? Her being asleep showed me that somebody else, me, needs to work on the home front. Caden wasn't going down for a nap. She needed sleep before she went and did a closing shift. I can do so much while Caden's just running around. I had to, kind of be pretty firm with him earlier because I was putting up, is it a coax cable? I don't know. My Ethernet cable from the landline all the way up and around to the computer. But he kept going up and over, and I had to yell at him a couple times because, not yell, not scream, but I had to be firm with him and say, Caden, the next time you put your leg over that while I'm putting it up, I said, I'm going to have to give you a spanking. Of course, I said it much more firm than that, but y'all don't need to hear daddy voice. Anyways, I knew that despite Caden's need for someone to help him fall asleep, he was going to get sleepy himself by running around, playing with toys, having only access to his room, kitchen area, living room. Like, he was going to get tired. So I was just going to let him get tired while I was doing other things, unpacking, and then I put up the cable. So I made the decision that I needed to do something for all of us to make this sanctuary what it is. Getting stuffy all of a sudden. So I encourage all of you to create that. It takes time. As much as I want things to happen immediately, I want everything to be where it needs to be. You know what I was telling myself as I was unpacking all 6 of those boxes? Pick up 2 things. One in your left, one in your right. Put them away. Within an hour, I had all 6 of those boxes unpacked and stacked on top of each other, ready to go back, pack more stuff to bring back over here. You start with this. What can I pick up and put away with these 2 hands right now? What can I do with these 2 hands? One piece at a time. Okay? That's all I have for you right now. Been talking for almost exactly 30 minutes. This is the one and only Skattosan. I thank you for listening. Please feel free to give any enlightenments, comments, suggestions, anything you like. And I'll be around. This is the one and only Skattosan. Out. Jamata.